You know, every single Xbox, from that big, chunky black box that started it all, right up to the sleek Series X sitting in your living room, it has a secret. And it's not about the hardware or some hidden game. Nope, it's the operating system. We're going to peel back the layers on a wild 20-year journey that secretly turned your game console into a powerhouse PC. Let's get into it.
So, let me just start with a question for you. Picture the latest, most powerful Xbox you can imagine. Now, picture a beige, clunky office computer from like the year 2000. What on earth could those two things possibly have in common? The answer isn't in the hardware, not at all. It's buried deep in the code.
That's it. That's the secret. Hiding inside every single Xbox console right from day one is the DNA of Microsoft Windows. It's a connection that has shaped everything about the console, and it all started in a really weird way.
Okay, let's rewind all the way to the beginning. The original Xbox was Microsoft's big, risky bet to jump into the console wars, and to build it, they went with what they knew best, Windows. But you can't just slap a desktop operating system into a game console and call it a day. They had to do something pretty radical.
The engineering team basically took the core of Windows 2000, a super robust OS built for businesses, and just tore it apart. Seriously. They ripped out everything that wasn't absolutely essential for playing games. Things like multitasking, complex memory management for Office apps, all of it, gone. What was left was this lean, mean, gaming-only machine.
And this whole strategy got a perfect, kind of nerdy name from a Microsoft engineer named Don Box. He called it fork and run. They forked the Windows code, creating a totally separate, new branch, and then they just let it run off on its own, completely independent from its PC parent.
And the difference in how they worked was just night and day. On one hand, you have desktop Windows, which is a master juggler, built to handle dozens of things at once. But the Xbox OS, it was a single-minded beast. The second you launched a game, like Halo, the operating system would literally just disappear, giving every last ounce of power to the game. Then, when you quit, the whole OS had to reboot itself from scratch. It sounds brutal, but for pure gaming performance, it was brilliant.
But, well, that super-focused approach couldn't last. If the original Xbox was the focus kid, the Xbox 360 was definitely the rebellious teenager, constantly changing its style, trying to figure out who it was. This was the era of the dashboard, and man, did it change. The 360's identity was all over the place. I mean, think about it. It launched in 2005 with the super fast and clean Blades interface. Just a few years later, in 2008, boom, the new Xbox experience hits, and suddenly it's all about social gaming and these little cartoon avatars. Then, by 2011, Microsoft's bigger corporate strategy takes over, and the console gets a whole new Metro look to match its Windows phones. That's 3 totally different personalities in just 6 years. But here's the thing. Underneath all those flashy new looks, that old fork and run idea was starting to cause some massive headaches. Because the 360's operating system was such a distant, weird cousin of desktop Windows, trying to bring over other Microsoft apps like Internet Explorer was a total nightmare. Developers had to maintain totally separate versions of their apps for the console, for mobile, for PCs. It was getting way too expensive and complicated.
This growing problem forced Microsoft to completely rethink everything. The age of separate, forked-off projects was over. It was time to bring the Xbox OS back into the fold, under this new, grand vision they called Windows Everywhere.
The strategy, which they ended up calling One Core, was actually pretty simple on paper, but just massive to pull off. Step 1. Admit that the old forking strategy was broken. Step 2. Build one single, shared foundation for Windows, a core system. And Step 3. Put that same core on every single Microsoft device. PCs, phones, and yep, you guessed it, the Xbox.
And the Xbox One was the very first console born from this brand new philosophy. It launched with an operating system built on the Windows 8 core, and then in 2015 it got a huge update, bringing it to a Windows 10 core. For the first time ever, the Xbox wasn't some distant relative anymore. It was a true member of the Windows family.
And you gotta understand, this wasn't just a technical fix. It was a massive cultural shift for Microsoft. As the head of Microsoft Gaming, Phil Spencer, said, gaming wasn't just some side project anymore. It was now seen as a critical, essential piece of the entire Windows ecosystem.
Okay, so that's a lot of tech history, right? But what does any of this actually mean for you, sitting on your couch, controller in hand? How does all this behind-the-scenes OS stuff actually make your gaming experience better?
This is the big payoff.
Because your Xbox now runs on the exact same core as a Windows PC, it's not a static, unchanging box anymore. It's now a platform that is constantly evolving and getting updated with new features month after month, just like your computer.
This one change is the reason we have so many of the features we just take for granted now. You want to play an old original Xbox or 360 game? That's some seriously complex emulation running on a modern Windows core. The way Game Pass is so deeply baked into the system, that's a Windows service. Things like FPS boost, Discord chat, even running certain apps, it all comes back to that one huge decision, to finally bring the Xbox home to Windows.
And that brings us to right now. The line between what a game console is and what a specialized PC is has never been blurrier. Your Xbox gets regular updates, it runs apps, and it shares its software soul with billions of other devices. It really leaves us with a fascinating question, right? As these consoles get more and more powerful, more and more like PCs, what's the next logical leap in their evolution?